What's up, Mob Crew? I'm Chris, and also today's missing person case is Anthony Greeno. Also, today's missing person case is Destiny. Today's missing person case is Haley Bible. Also, today's missing person case is Isabel Grace. Also, today's missing person case is Alexa Ware. Also, today's missing person case is Also, today's missing person case is Aaron Teresa Lawrence. And today's missing person case is Jessica Marshik from What's up, Mob Crew? I'm Chris, and today's video What's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys can hear me all right, put a 1 in the chat if you could, please. Just this real quick here. Oh, my shoulder. All right. Yeah, we got a big show for you guys today. We'll get into the missing, and then I'm going to start off with going over a video from Greeno. He did some reenactments, and I kind of wanted to show some people who haven't seen the actual terrain that's like down the hill and everything. He did a reenactment video, I think, a year or two ago. I think it gives a lot of people a better perspective of the terrain and just what they had to go through, and they used a couple actors and everything, and I think it was really good. It's something I would love to do if I was near the Monon High Bridge. So. And then after that, I've got some stuff coming out of the rumor mill. Not new stuff, but some stuff that I haven't touched on in my video, or on this topic anyway, on my show. So we dive into that, and then what else do I got? So there's that, and then some of the crazy coincidences, like the Evansdale Murders, where you've got the 2 dates of Evansdale Murders and the Delphi Murders, and, you know, they're the same numbers, just flip backwards, which is really crazy. And so I did a video on that, and we'll play part of it, but, because I figure since my last video on Delphi was a debunk video, and I know sometimes those are always the best, aren't always the funnest videos to watch, because talking about theories, those are a lot funner. So Julie says, I'm obsessed with this case. Yeah, this case is it's very unique to actually have video footage of the killer and audio of him, and you got 2 sketches. I mean, just about everything except for catching the killer. It is crazy. Very unique case. I agree, Julie. So let me get into the missing real quick, and then we'll start on the show. So this was sent in to me. This is Megan here. She was last seen on March 27th, so she's been almost missing for a month now. So apparently they recovered her 2017 Subaru Impreza at Longscope Park in Lee, Massachusetts. But no Megan. I forget her age. I think 40 something. But yeah, she's been missing for almost a month now. Auburn, about red hair and green eyes, 5'6", 120 pounds. So anybody in Massachusetts, keep an eye out for her. And then I found this one. This is Dakota Clifford from Bryan, Ohio. He was last seen on the 13th of March, so just a little over a month. He left his house on foot with his cell phone sometime after 9 a.m. He was wearing black sweatpants and a black jacket, black tennis shoes, blue knitted beanie. If you've seen Dakota, please notify the number below or the police. He's got brown hair, brown eyes, just 22 years old. Looks like a bright kid. Looks like he's served some time in the Army. So, yeah, anybody near Bryan, Ohio, keep an eye out for Dakota there. So, all right. Oh, we got Frank Meister in the house. Right on. They just got done with the stream. Sadly, I couldn't watch it because I was setting up mine, but I'm sure it was a great stream. Him and Marvelous Investigates, they do really great work. I've been kind of collabing with them a little bit. And they also have Steve, who is I guess a retired police officer, and it's got some great background, great knowledge. Somebody I would just love to take some time and pick his brains. So, all right. So I wanted to get into the reenactment first, just kind of give you guys an idea of the terrain. If you guys haven't seen this video, I think this is, like I said, I've done the reenactment of kind of the bridge walk, but this is I got to turn the volume down because Anthony sometimes tends to play music that is not licensed. So, and I don't want that to happen. So I apologize. There's not going to be any audio. There's not audio except for just some music playing anyway. So, but basically he does a couple reenactments, and I think it's really good because it actually gets to show some what it looks like actually walking the terrain and, you know, being able to, you know, herd the girls down the hill and stuff, so you guys can see what it actually looks like if you haven't seen this video. And I'll put the links to this video. I know some people either love them or hate them, but I think this was a great idea. It's something I would have done if I had the opportunity. I put it in full panel here in just a minute, but I think it's very interesting. Now, the only thing that and why I wanted to, yeah, Frank says the terrain is horrendous. Yes. So the only thing I don't think they went this way, to be honest. But I'll play it and I'll tell you guys why in just a minute. Like I said, I put it in full panel here in just a second here. I didn't realize I didn't have it blown up. Oh, yeah, here we go. So they're kind of walking almost like they're parallel with the bridge. This is the path that they're taking here. The only thing that I don't think is because there was a lot of reports from multiple witnesses saying that there was a couple under the bridge arguing. So I figure if they were under the bridge, and I believe it'd be on this side, you would think they would have saw something. Found Libby. Well, there's two conflicting stories. Either there's one story that they found Libby's shoe near the driveway, the park driveway, and then the other one is kind of on the other side. And I'll show in just a minute. I back this up. What he says right here is what I think actually happened.
He lost his footing. He fell.
So let me pause this real quick. So they took the route that's his head's in the way, but they kind of took the route this way and kind of went over this way. He thinks, because there's a kind of the bank is pretty steep, but there's kind of not as steep about right here. He's kind of thinking that they could have went this way. I kind of tend to agree with that as they kind of went further up. Also with the gravel, you can hear them walking when he says guys down the hill. And you can hear the gravel. and that would make sense if they were still walking up on the gravel up this way. So I kind of think they went forward more and then came down somewhere around this area.
They saw an opportunity to get away and made a break for it and took off running. Ran down to the river.
If you can, send it to me email. I get a lot of emails, Delphi Puzzle, but if you can, send it into my email. Thank you.
Where all the stone is, fell. I've heard, I don't know, but I've heard that their fingers were bruised up, that their arms were bruised, and just walking on these stones down here is very difficult. What is the plausibility that they made a break for it to get away? As they were running, they fell into this gravel, bruised up their hands and arms, got up, and were going across the river, but at that point he was able to catch up with them. And the possibility that maybe he brought them, he was planning on whether he was going to sexually assault them or kill them, whatever, he was planning on doing it here. And they made a break for it, and so he had to alter his plan, and that's why they ended up on the other side of the river.
See, I tend to agree with most of what he just said right there. Oh, so this is a music. I'm sorry, I got to turn this back down. This is a music. I don't know if it's licensed or not, so I got to turn off that. But what's really interesting is when they go to show the actors when they cross the river. I think it gives a good idea of what it would kind of been like. I think this was a really great idea. I wish they would have done a few more scenarios, but I still think this is, in my opinion, this is a great idea to do a reenactment, kind of give a visual. So here's them kind of running. Now what's interesting is watch the one actor with the tie-dyed shirt. Watch what happens to her, how she falls right there. I think something happened like that as well to one of the girls, and that's how he was able to catch up to one of them, and then maybe incapacitate the one, kind of like how they just showed. Or maybe he just caught up and put a gun to their head and said, hey, if you keep running, I'm going to shoot her. Something like that. So, I'm going to play part 2 real quick. So he has 3 parts, and I'll put them all the links in my video if you haven't seen them. So I have to shout out Anthony Greeno for this. So now this, he also, in this reenactment, this is a version where if he came from the southeast side, so that's the side that they're standing at, and he was just kind of waiting for him. There's also a blind spot up back above the bridge that he could have been standing there, and he knows that this is a dead end, and then they're going to be turning back around. So maybe he's waiting. He only sees 2 girls come, and since they're almost at the end, he's going to walk past them just to kind of eyeball them, see what they've got, and then kind of walk to about platform 6, and then turn around, and then that's what kind of got them. It's definitely possible. And then we got him talking to Randy Kravitz right here. There's Randy. So they're just basically discussing the same thing right here. So this is kind of the vantage point that you would get. This is exactly what I was saying, that vantage point that he's standing at. It would make sense. Now, what they're debunking right here is something that was early on. They thought that you could see somebody right here, but they debunked it. It was just trees and stuff. It was on, I can't remember. I want to say HLN, but I don't think it was HLN. But it was another newscast. They kind of made a big thing about, oh, there's somebody back here, but they debunked that. So... yeah, they haven't released anything about cause of death or what happened to him. They can't release those kind of details. Yeah, thank you, True Crime. Yeah, a lot of info most of the stuff we're going to be talking about is rumors. Because with the open investigation, they can't, So sorry about. I had to, like I said, I had to turn the volume off because a lot of times he plays music that's it's not licensed or is licensed. Excuse me. But yeah, the only thing I don't think is I don't think they went down this way. In my opinion, I just I feel like they went more down somewhere towards this direction here. And then I think BG maybe fell coming down that last hill, and then they tried to run for it. But it's really cool to actually get that visual, you know, because a lot of times you only see the Google Earth or, yeah, for those that are just seeing this for the first time, it is very interesting to actually kind of get a visual of what it would have been like. And it gives you an idea of what it would have been like to cross the creek, which would have been super cold, like ice cold. Like, we're talking February. So that water, I know Frank Meister's been in it. He said it's really cold. Now, I'm sure with adrenaline going through their bodies, it wouldn't have been as a big of a deal, but I'm sure they would have noticed. So now you can see on this side, there's a little more shallower, not so bad a bank on this side. But most of the bank on this is actually really rugged and tall and kind of steep as well. Yeah, True Crime thinks. Yeah, I agree, Shannon. Yeah, probably fell. Karen Lee, this is Anthony Greeno's video, and I'll put the links in the description afterwards. So, oh, thank you, Aloha. So there's that. So back this up just a little bit, just to the creek part, or where the girl fell actually. Just play this part one more time because I think something like this would have happened, but one of them, you know, notice how one's kind of almost halfway across the creek. She accidentally falls. I think something like that, you know, that seems kind of like a plausible scenario. And sadly, he would have caught up to one of them. And maybe even attacked him at that point. But I think this is an interesting reenactment. Love him or hate him. I think that's it really kind of helps give the community kind of a visual of, you know, what could have happened. So, and then, let's see. So, also, I wanted to do a couple of just short little interviews because, you know, one thing that always comes up is DNA. Do they have DNA? And I've been doing a lot of research on the DNA aspect of it. And I've noticed that in the early on, in the investigation, like the first couple of years, they were kind of more open to talk about the DNA and that they said they had it. And then as the years went by, it was kind of more of a vague answer. And they would say yes sometimes. And so I'm going to play just 2 interviews just to the point of where they're talking about DNA. And then we'll discuss a document or something I came across. So I think this was... Oh, I gotta turn up the volume here.
It is the big story right now. We are also learning more about. We just talked with the superintendent, Doug Carter.
I think this was in 2017.
He tells us he's confident superintendent for hearing any of the information that key that better identify certain personnel to what kind of things they can be to superintendents, but they're still looking.
Sorry, just skipping to the interview. Okay, here we go.
I know that we have a human element. We have a very solid science element. We're using every capable process that we have from a scientific perspective, as everyone would expect us to, and we will continue to do that until there's nothing left to do.
Would that include DNA?
It does.
Was DNA found at the scene?
It includes DNA.
We haven't ruled out the possibility that it's a local person. Every time we can clear somebody, it gets us closer.
So I'll just replay that because it's real quick.
That we have seen, it includes DNA. We have to do that we have from a scientific perspective, as everyone would expect us to, and we will continue to do that until there's nothing left to do.
Would that include DNA?
It does.
Was DNA found at the scene?
It includes DNA.
We haven't ruled out the possibility that it's a local person. Every time we include somebody, it gets us closer.
Yeah.
We're confident.
That's interesting that you guys are mentioning. Yeah, we're actually going to talk about that. That's kind of funny. Anna and Wendy, you guys mentioned that back to back. So yeah, we are actually going to be talking about that today. Now we're not going to talk about the bodies themselves because out of respect of the family, but the crime scene other than the bodies, and we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, the signatures, and yes, I've came across this doll thing, and I'm finally going to address it because I've came across it. I've heard it many times, and I'm like, all right, let's just take a look at it real quick here. But let me finish with the DNA, and then that's my next subject we'll kind of get into. So I think that interview was either 2017 or 18, but early on in the investigation. And then this was 2018. This is with James Renner and Toby Lesenby. And he gets asked the same question of DNA. So notice now a year has gone by. Let's see, when is this uploaded? Yeah, 2018. So a year later. I got to find it. So.
And I guess delving further into investigation and more talk. So I guess the answer is yes.
Okay, here it is. I apologize for the audio. It's kind of it might have been on my end here, but so he just asked him point blank, "Do you have any DNA?"
Some DNA. I'm going to offer a blanket and say, as with any crime scene, there's always DNA. There's DNA even in fingerprints. So I guess the answer is yes, but.
So he says, for those I know, it's kind of hard to hear, but so he says, there's always DNA at crime scenes, and then he refers to it as a blanket answer, and then he says, there's DNA, touch DNA, kind of talks about touch DNA, and then he says, well, yes, there's some kind of DNA there.
With this new technology that's come out just
So I guess, when it comes to the DNA, it kind of comes down to, who's answering the question, and it's how much you believe in the person and the answer. So now we're going to get into a little bit more onto the rumor mill side of things. And there's a document I found from a page. Now this is all speculation, so please keep this in mind when I'm going into this part. But from this guy's sources, this is what he says. So the main suspect's DNA is found in the forest around the crime scene. However, he was one of the searchers who found the bodies, and he was also known to have searched the area in the dark the previous evening. Hence, none of his DNA from the forest around the girls is usable. So that would really be bad, because if he was in the search party and he was tainting the, touching stuff on purpose to, try to, throw off investigators, would make sense. Now, this is something I've heard before, but this is just theory. All this is just speculation, but they say BG threw toilet cleaner over the girls and over objects at the crime scene, thereby eliminating most, if not all, the usable DNA. The only DNA found on the girls was that of Kelsi, the sister of Libby. Kelsi has been cleared. The rumor that Ellie has a partial DNA sample from an unknown male from one of the girls. The problem is they only have 9 markers on that partial sample. That is not very many. It's less than 10% of men that have those 9 markers. Oh, thanks, True Crime. Mob is definitely one of the best channels for Delphi from what I've seen. I watch everything that I can find. Still deep dive in. So much out there. A lot is iffy info, not well thought out. Yeah, I agree, Shannon. And there's some good content out there, for sure. Okay, so finish this little article. So, like I said, now this is just rumor. Okay. The partial DNA samples are useful to law enforcement, for instance, if they have the suspect, they have a partial 10% of the population. This is one more bit of evidence that might point towards them having the right guy. On the other hand, a sample with only 9 markers is absolutely not usable in court. We think, and then he says that DNA is kind of a dead end. I don't think so with the advancements in DNA. And then this is the topic about fingerprints, because we've kind of, when you watch that interview that I just played with Toby, unfortunately the video was buffering, but right after he mentions, do you have DNA, and he's talking about, he immediately goes into talking about touch DNA, and he kind of pulls out his hands. So it kind of makes me think that was just kind of, you know, because they have that fingerprint that he's talking about, touch DNA. And so to finish this little thing here is that it goes, about those fingerprints, law enforcement themselves have admitted that they have one smudged fingerprint. They don't say where they collected it from, but that's the most important question. However, smudged prints are very dubious value. They're generally unusable. So take it for what it is. Like I said, that's just rumor. So yes, getting into more into the rumor. I said I haven't done many speculation or rumor videos on Delphi. I try to stay with the little facts that we can work with. But so if you guys haven't heard of the David Esker's texts, there were some leaked texts. So when the girls were, you know, still believed to be missing, and they had the search party out on the night of February 13th. Into the next day, February 14th, one of the volunteers who was kind of related to one of the mothers of the victim, and apparently he came across the bodies. And there were some leaked texts that came out, and like I said, I didn't really want to talk about the bodies. I just want to bring up one thing because, like I said, we're going to get into the doll thing if you guys haven't heard this rumor. But so he says Abby was placed there on the ground like a doll, hood up, hands folded, wearing the same clothes as the pic from the bridge. Now, the reason why I wanted to show this is how he talks about Abby being placed on the ground like a doll. And if you haven't heard the doll theory, I will go into this. So there's, I'm not sure who started this rumor first, but I think Robert Lindsay was probably one of the first ones to talk about this whole doll thing. And I know Lindsay, most people hate him. I don't care for him. He's come up with some really terrible rumors. But this one, he's like doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on with the doll theory, and it's so much that it's almost like it's has to be something to look into because of how they've always said the with Robert Ives saying that there was like at least 3 signatures at the crime scene. And for those that don't know what signatures are, those are like how they dispatched the body, something that's not normal in a normal homicide, something that they go out of their way to do, something that might be left, you know. I don't want to get into specifics because of the victims, but yeah, he thinks there was at least 3 signatures. So he says we have 2 law enforcement sources for this information. The first source, the same as above, said there are quite a bit of them. He said there are so many dolls scattered around that it looked like he had gone to Goodwill store and bought a bunch of dolls. This also answers the question about why the cops have been using the phrases like odd, peculiar, strange, not your average crime scene. Which this part is true, where they've always talked about it being an odd, strange, not your average crime scene. Many signatures. It fits right in with all of that. The second source was asked if there was one doll or more. Was asked if there was one doll or more than one doll, and would only state at least one doll was found at the crime scene. So apparently he says he's got 2 sources in law enforcement. But like I said, this is all rumor, complete speculation. And then he just says his sources. But it's so weird because I was reading all of his, a lot of it's garbage. But he's just doubled down so many times on this. It's kind of just kind of makes you wonder if one of these could if he actually is onto something with this. So, and then the other interesting thing is they are sure that this guy used toilet cleaner, which is like bleach to get rid of the evidence. And it says presumably it was used to throw bleach over everything, which solves the riddle why there's no usable DNA was collected in the case. I haven't done a lot of research as far as bleach and getting rid of evidence and DNA. That's something I need to look more into. But it's plausible. But yeah, so and then just to go on to that doll theory just a little bit more. So I've been trying to research this, and if anybody knows about this picture, let me know. But so apparently this was taken. Somebody went to the Monon High Bridge, and how they have memorials for the girls. They said when they went out there, they took a picture and they saw that this doll was laying right here. It doesn't have a date. I'm assuming early on. And it says, doll thrown in with the flowers at the memorial at the bridge. This was about a year after the crime, and you can see some of the flowers deteriorating. As you can see, a doll has been thrown into the mix. I don't know what that means. Perhaps it is odd. Did BG put that doll there? He scattered dolls all over the crime scene. We know that much. Well, we don't know, but... Taxco says, I've heard there were vids of the dolls, but I've never saw it. Yeah, I've never heard of any videos. I think I've heard a picture about a stuffed teddy bear or a teddy bear. I'm not going to go into that. That's just, I don't know. But yeah, there was apparently even talk of a teddy bear being there, which is kind of odd. Oh, some people relate the doll to the girls being killed in the house that burnt down, the Flora fires. Interesting. Very interesting. Thank you, Shannon. Interesting. So here's a close-up of the doll. Not your average Barbie doll, kind of more of your creepy doll. So like I said, I had no idea if this picture is legit or not. But just something to kind of think about. So now he has a person of interest. This guy, these documents I'm showing. Now, I've done a little bit of research on it. I cannot confirm any of this right now because I've only done just a little bit of research on it. But if this is true, this would be a very good person of interest. I don't really like to cover persons of interest on my channel just because it's, you have to be kind of delicate and it's a lot of responsibility when it comes to this case. But, so this is their theory on what he was wearing that day. And let me put a side-by-side while while you guys are looking at this, reading this out. Second here. Okay, let me pull this up, and I'll move it over so it's not blocking here. Nope. There's a couple of things on this here. There we go. Hopefully I'm not move that just a little bit over. You guys can see it. Okay, so items known to be worn that were with and worn by BG at the time of the crime. So, loaded handgun in the right jacket pocket, type unknown. Now this is interesting because I'll talk about it in a second. Possibly a rare 40 millimeter collector's item, which is interesting because apparently they did go to a house. I think it's called the Maxwell House or something. and they were looking at rare guns or rare collector guns. So this could have some truth to it. Members only jacket blue. 501 blue jeans, dad jeans. I think we can agree that he's got dad jeans on. The Indiana Packer boots, which we'll get into that in a minute. Camouflage hunting cap. I could see if it's a hat. If you guys saw my reenactment of walking with BG and trying the different hats on, I could see a regular baseball cap if it was flipped back. I don't think there's a bill. There could be, but I just think if there was a bill, his face would have been covered more from the bill itself. Just my opinion, though. He says GoPro camera on the waist. I don't know about. Deer kit on the waist with 5 hunting knives, possible. White scarf covering the lower half of his face. That, that's either a scarf or I think it's. My theory is either it's a scarf or if he's got a brown hoodie under that, it would be the. I wish I had my hoodie by. The strings. Because I got a brown hoodie and it's got the strings coming out. That's a possibility if the strings were from the hoodie. But so bottle of toilet bowl cleaner in the left pocket. It's kind of stretching it. But binoculars. We've heard binoculars before. Is that it? Okay. Like I said, I know some of this is, but like I said, with the possible rare gun, they did. There has been multiple reports that they did go search somebody's house, looking into rare handguns or something like that. So, but I don't like guns, so I don't know much about them. Jumping over to this one. Okay, so this is this guy's person of interest, which some of this is very interesting if true, but like I said, I haven't been able to research all this yet. So, but if true, it would be pretty crazy. So, birthplace Illinois, resident history unknown for the first 18 years, possibly Illinois, Delphi, Indiana, from at least 1984 to 2021. Resident Delphi in 1984-85 at minimum. Important resident periods. Moved to Evansdale, Iowa in 2011 to 2012. That's right. Evansdale Murders happened on 7/13/12. I have to double check that. I'm trying to throw that out real quick. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's July 13th, 2012. So, interesting date. So, apparently, to work at a slaughterhouse, possibly aligned with Tyson Foods there, was present when Evansdale Murders occurred. Homeless for a period in the 2000s, where he resided at a homeless shelter. Delphi High School in 84 and 85, so I guess that's why they know the 84 and 85. The age at the time of the crime would be either 45 or 50. His present age would be 53 or 54. White male. Goatee or trim beard. 5'8", 180 pounds. Which actually that all lines up perfectly for the height and weight. We won't get into the sexual orientation. Residence at the time of the crime was Delphi, Indiana since 1984. Recently moved to a small city nearby, possibly due to the heat of being a suspect in the crime. Lists a factory as a place of residence. So apparently right now his residence is a factory. His employment history, this is interesting, if true, but I can't confirm it right now. Unknown prior to 2011. May have worked at Tyson Foods Slaughterhouse in Logansport, Indiana. Sister factory in Waterloo, Iowa. And then, 2011, 2012. Employed at 2 factories in nearby towns as a machine operator in recent years. Occupation, handicrafter, making wooden signs. Distance of residence from the crime scene at the time of the crime was less than 2 miles to the east along the creek. So here's getting even a little crazier. Familiarity with the crime location. So apparently friends with Ron Logan, whose property the crime occurred on, frequently hunted deer on Ron's land, clearly very familiar with the area of the crime, and perhaps knew it well, like the back of his hand. Apparently he was married, or it's still married, but it's rocky. Important friendships. Very casual friend of Mike Patty, father to one of the girl's victims. Possible Harley buddies, friends who rode Harley Davidson motorcycles, as Mike is an avid Harley rider. There is rumor of falling out between the two men at some time before the crime. What that has to do with anything is not known. And he was a hunting buddy with somebody. Hobbies: raising goats, riding, fixing up Harleys, motorcycles, deer hunter, and handcrafting wooden signs. So, like I said, this is just all speculation, but it's interesting. So, just giving you an idea, this meat packing place, this Tyson Foods that he's talking about, so from the crime scene, not saying that he went from work to the crime scene, but so the crime would have been right, actually no, right, yeah, I think on the red dot there. So it's 24 minutes. So here's Logansport, and Tyson Foods is actually just right here. So I'm assuming if he did work there, he would have been real close. They say that he was just 2 miles away, so he would have probably lived somewhere in here. So yeah, Jenny, I was going to get into that in just a second, but yeah, that she makes a good question. So, she says, question, so where did BG put the dolls, cleaner, etc.? He's not carrying a backpack. He'd have to have enough bleach to degrade DNA for both girls. He couldn't just have a few drops here and there. I agree, Jenny. Completely agree, 100%. So the theory on dolls. So let's get into that real quick. Let me pull up this other one. So one of the theories is he could have set up the crime scene beforehand. Now this is where like I said, this is just rumor mill, and I don't know if I'm on board with the doll thing, but I thought I would just kind of share it with you guys because I've heard it come up over and over again, and I thought I would just kind of throw it out for you guys, since we're just kind of talking about rumors right now. But yeah, I would think he would have probably set that up beforehand. But if he did that, there was two theories. Either if the doll theory is correct, he'd either, like I said, went to a Goodwill or something and got some dolls. Or apparently I heard somebody say that there is some dolls that sometimes are left in these at the cemetery. He could have maybe grabbed a couple of them here and then kind of set up the dolls. It is something that does seem kind of outrageous, but they do say that the crime scene had at least 3 signatures and was an unusual crime scene. So I do think there is something odd in the crime scene itself, besides what happened to the bodies. But that is a good question, yeah, because clearly it doesn't look like he's got much. Yeah, no backpack. The other thing that I want to bring up while we have this map up is if he did, and I don't have it on this, but the abandoned CPS buildings up here, if he did park up here, I don't think that he was going to try to lure these girls back to his car, because there's just no way. If he parked up here, there's no way he's going to be able to corral these girls back all the way back up here without being seen. Even if he cut through any of this stuff, they would have been seen. So it almost makes me wonder if that car at the abandoned CPS building was even his vehicle. I'm kind of starting to be more on board that this he escaped probably somewhere through the cemetery, and that's why I kind of got this arrow here, which would make sense. You know, he could have parked anywhere up over here somewhere. Came in through the cemetery, and then kind of started the scene. But like I said, it's tough to, the doll theory is really tough to get behind when thinking about the girls were trying to run and get away, because I definitely believe that happened. So it is kind of tough to get on board with the doll theory, but it's just been brought up so many times that I thought I'd kind of share it with you guys, see what you guys think. But I agree. I think it'd be really hard to for him to set up a scene like that. I think there'd be more chances for him to be caught. But this person just seems dead set on with the dolls. So let me finish this guy's background real quick, because it is interesting. So if what they're saying is true, and he was resident in Evansdale for a year when that crime occurred, that would be pretty crazy. And for those who are not familiar with the Evansdale Murders, let me just play just a small clip and then show you what get this ready. Actually, let me pull you guys real quick. I think I spelled that right. Let me just pop that up real quick. Let me pull you guys real quick on that. Oh, I'm gonna go in right. Hold on a second. I'm just gonna pull you guys. Okay. Let's see if that'll go through. I should capitalize that. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna pop that up real quick and see, because I might play more of the video if you guys have it. While that's going in, so this is Robert Lindsay, Lorno. That is the guy that's doubled down on the dolls. And I really didn't want to bring his name up because he is he's came up with some really terrible rumors. But apparently this guy, what's up, Tom, man? I'm late. Hello, Mob Crew. Like I said, he's come up with some really nasty rumors in the beginning. It's still kind of doubled down on them. We won't talk about those specific rumors, but apparently he's been working on this since day one. He's got over 230 people in his group, on his blog, or whatever you want to call it. You have to pay to be in his group. It's $20 for a lifetime membership. But apparently he's gotten all these sources. And so I thought like I said, I've seen it multiple times, and just with the doll theory, I kind of wanted to address, because he tends to double down on it, and I've heard it come up many times. So, okay, so it's 68 votes, so it's almost half and half. So I might play a little bit more of this video just for everybody to kind of get caught up on the Evansdale. It's a short video, but yeah. Oops, let me go. Someone said the Klein and Son. Yeah, some people, I think a lot of people still think the Kleins are involved in one way or another. I personally, I agree with Jones. I don't think it's the Kleins, but I'm still going to be doing some videos, because I know I've even seen people do polls on other channels, and it's still pretty high when it comes to people thinking that the Kleins had something to do with it. So, And I want to kind of do a video addressing the reasons why and the reasons why not, in my opinion. So I think that would be a good video for arguments for both sides. So I'm just seeing. So it's about 50-50. So, all right. Before I play the video, let me before I know it, the show's going to be over. So let me just, as you guys know, I donate 35% to the Humane Society, and I have people. If you want to send in your pet pictures, just email me. One of my mods, if they can, just put my email up. So we like to show some pets during halftime, just take a break from all this crazy talk. So this is from Spressa Laika. This is her little kitten Tom, and then this is him all grown up. And then this is from Gisla from Grizzly True Crime. This is her cat Fury. She sent me another picture of him. Looks like he's got like a tough stare going down. Look how he's staring at that animal. That is so funny. And this comes from How's Your Mama? And this is Ellie, and it looks like she's got bangs. That's funny. Somebody kind of put their head right there, so it's got bangs. And then one more. This is from Sally. This is Periwinkles. I love that name. Oh, it's a beautiful cat. That's good colors too. And one more we got from Screaming Crimes. We got Frodo Puggins. Hanging out under the blankets. So yeah, if you haven't sent any pet pictures of your pet, you can send it to my email. I kind of do like a little halftime where I show people's pets, just in honor of our donations that we do through Humane Society, which we turned in $130, which is supposed to be matched. I think it might be matched 3 times. Still waiting on the confirmation email on that. So, all right, let me close this out here. Okay, get back into where we were at, so the video. Okay, so let me just check this. So I think it's 50-50 on the Evansdale. Okay, so let me go back a little bit. Those that haven't seen this. Yeah, Tom. If you haven't heard this, Tom, wait, I'll play the video, Tom. So there's another similar murder I wouldn't say near the area, but I'll just play the video, and then if you haven't seen this, it's going to blow your mind.
Just the thought of having your sister not here when you wake up is just terrifying.
What's up, Mob Crew? I'm Chris. Okay, let's get forward. Of Abby Williams and Liberty German in the Delphi case, there was another double homicide that is still unsolved to this day, and that is the murders of Cook and Collins. Both were 2 young girls who were cousins. On Friday the 13th in July 2012, 10-year-old Lyric Cook Morrissey and 8-year-old Elizabeth Collins, the 2 girls went on a bike ride close to the Myers Lake in Evansdale, Iowa. This spot was a popular fishing and recreation area with about 4,700 residents. The girls would be spotted on Brovan Boulevard at approximately 12:23, and for the last time between 12:30 and 1 p.m. on Gilbert Drive. Cook and Collins were supposed to be back by 2 p.m. After the 2 girls did not return home when they were supposed to, the grandmother then called the local law enforcement at 2:40 p.m. to report them missing. And so the family and many of the locals got together and would go out and look for them. So, with local law enforcement and the locals all searching for the two girls, they started searching around the Myers Lake in Evansdale. They would eventually come across some of the belongings in Elizabeth's purse, along with the two bikes that were later found on the trail on the southeast corner of Myers Lake around 4 p.m. that day. But there were no clues as to their whereabouts. Local law enforcement would bring in search dogs, and they would actually get a hit on both scents of the two girls, and that would lead near Myers Lake. So they ended up sending in dive teams and even began to drain the lake to see if they could find their bodies or any clues. After days of searching, it was around this time that the mother of Cook would be interviewed, and her interview would be somewhat alarming as she didn't seem too affected by her daughter's disappearance. Here is a short clip.
Actually are here with the mother of Lyric this morning to tell us a little bit about what's going on. How is...
And everybody reacts differently, but it was really weird. So this is the mother of one of the girls, and we'll learn about their history in a minute. But it was just kind of weird how she just seems so, and she could be in shock, you know. But just people always were kind of put off with this interview because she just doesn't seem really tore up.
Last few days.
The first 3 days we were very active, searching, going through the woods. The last few days this week, when they're not allowing the citizen search, has been a lot more difficult. Not having as much to do, keeping busy, and as the time continues to go on, so do your concerns and worries about what might be happening to them and where are they. I'm glad they're draining the lake to rule that out, since the dogs picked up their scent at the water's edge. Because they've searched so well in the surrounding area, my only concern is that they're far away, days away, maybe another state, something.
And sadly, she would be right. Now, I don't think she had anything to do with it. But
like that. That's my concern. And if they are, how do we find them there? So.
She definitely had the motherly instinct, though, to know that they weren't close and that they were basically
that's kind of
further away.
The thing about the media, that their faces in this story gets out, to the different states.
No. Along with the odd behavior of the mother, the father of Cook, Dan Morrissey, was into cooking meth, and the two parents were eventually caught and sentenced for their involvement in drugs. Yeah, so that, even though it doesn't look like her, she don't have all her makeup on now. And some have speculated that But yeah, they were busted. He was, the father of one of the girls, sadly was into cooking meth, heavily into drugs. They thought the girls getting killed were some kind of revenge, something to do with the father and drug related. But that's never been confirmed. Two girls were abducted because the father was in the drug world, but this has not been verified. After 4 months had passed, sadly, on Wednesday, December 5th, 2012, the bodies of Cook and Collins were found by hunters at the Seven Bridges Wildlife Park near Reddyland in Bremer County, a wildlife area approximately 25 miles from where the girls were last seen. The details of their deaths have never been released, and the case would go unsolved to this day, nearly 10 years later. And the law enforcement of Evansdale have been tight-lipped about the details of the case, but suspect that it was a good possibility that it could have been a local who was responsible for the double homicide. So this case could be related to the Delphi murders, as there are a lot of similarities. There could be a serial killer who murders every 5 years, and if so, this year would be the year it could happen again. So this is what's interesting for those that are kind of just learning about this case, is the dates, and this is crazy. So let's look at the similarities between the two double homicides. Both cases had two young girls being murdered. Then you have both locations that have the word bridge in them, Monon High Bridge and Seven Bridges. Both towns are small towns. Both cases are believed to be committed by a local. Both areas would be considered to be used by hunters. And the more eerie similarities would be both happened on the 13th. You have Evansdale on 7/13/12, and the Delphi murders with 2/13/17. And these are just literally the same numbers backwards, which is absolutely crazy. Now, do I think there's like a Zodiac killer out there? No, but the coincidences are there, and that's what this video is about, is some of the coincidences. And so it's literally just the same numbers backwards. The date, 5 years later, on the 13th, which is just, it's so crazy. It literally consists with the same 5 digits, and the murders happened 5 years apart. Both numbers add up to 32. Both happened during... And you can make more arguments about the connections between this. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, thank you, SD. Yeah, it was so funny. After I did this video, you guys down in the comments like put out so many good comparisons. I'm like, oh, I should have thrown that in, but yeah, so if you haven't seen that video, I played most of it, but it's very interesting. No, it's Evansdale is in Iowa, but it's not that far away. We could show you a look. Take a look real quick. Just to give you an idea. So, Evansdale, Iowa. Just can't give you an idea of the distance between the two. 6 hours away. Zoom out real quick here. Sorry if it buffers. Switch that over. So here's Evansdale right here. So you've got Illinois, which is here. It'd be down like here. And then you got obviously Iowa's border starts right here. So here's Evansdale. Here's Delphi. 6.5 hours. Yes, they were both by a slaughterhouse. Yeah, that's kind of gonna talk about. Tax cut is the coincidences about the Tyson Foods, how they both have 2 plants that are close. The one I showed you by Delphi is only 25 minutes away. It's just in Logansport. Apparently this person of interest that the one guy has says that this guy worked at a packaging plant like a Tyson, and it could have been Tyson's, and he could have been working in that area during 2011 2012. I said I've not confirmed any of this, so it's just pure speculation, but like I said, that'd be kind of interesting just to throw some of those crazy coincidences out there. They could be nothing, but it is fascinating. Especially with the dates being flipped around, that is just really weird. 5 years apart, and like I said, there's so many similarities between these two cases. You could just do a whole video on just the similarities. The only difference is these girls went missing. They were abducted, and then they weren't found for another 4 months later. Whereas these girls, obviously, they were killed where they were abducted at. But it's interesting. It makes you think. Another crazy thing, and it's not that crazy. It's just a coincidence. But when we learned about... let me pull this up real quick. Oh, that's not the one I wanted to pull up. Oh, yeah, that's the one I want to pull up here. Let me pull it. Oh, I closed it out. 1 second. Holy wow, these are things that investigators use to link up serial killers. Yeah. I'm sure they've, clearly looked into this. Apparently some of the murders they looked into after, not Evansdale, but Delphi, is they looked into hatchet murders. I wish I could go more into that, but I'll probably do that in my After Dark series. So for my members only, I talk a little bit more about the triggering content because out of respect to the family. But for my members only video, since that doesn't go out to the public, it just goes for the members. I kind of go a little bit deeper into some of that stuff that, you know, I wouldn't want to be out in the normal public just because out of respect for the family and stuff. But if you want to become a member, I usually do kind of an After Dark special, you know, 20-30 minute video, just kind of talking about a few other things. But anyway, another crazy coincidence. So we learned that the video starts at, let's see, here, let me pull this up real quick. So after the HLN special, which we didn't get much of on the 5th year anniversary, but they did tell us that that this video clip supposedly starts at 2:13, which is interesting because 2:13 is the same date. It's February 13th. So that's another crazy coincidence that this video starts at 2:13, the abduction begins, and it just happens to be the same. The time stamp is the same as the date, February 13th. So that's kind of interesting as well. But what? Let's see. Those. Just curious. Let's see. Let me do a poll. You believe that G exited through the cemeteries now. Okay. So before, if you're not sure about answering that, so the theory is that he parked his car up at the CPS building, walked through here, maybe had seen the girls once as they were dropped off, and then he was kind of hiding out. The girls just kind of walked by. He waited till they got towards the end, then he came. You got your video starting at 2:13. He corralled him down. The murder would have taken place between 2:20 and 3:30. Law enforcement says apparently that everything should have been done, was probably over by 3:30 as far as the girls. So that means he's now probably leaving sometime shortly after that. The theory is that he went this way, and then supposedly was seen when he got back onto the 501 trail, and then made it back to the CPS building. The more I think about it, I'm starting to agree more with people about, I think he probably exited through the cemetery, and then, came out this way here. I'm kind of curious because I know a lot of people mention the cemetery, but yeah, 65%. I know some people might not know, but I think out of the two ways, I just think that's a long ways for him to go and come back. So many witnesses. I can't see somebody parking at CPS building and then trying to make their way back after doing something like that. I really feel like he would have came out the cemetery. And he could have had a vehicle parked over here somewhere. But let me just check yeah, a lot of you feel like the cemetery over the other way. Yeah, I don't get the vehicle left at CPS. If it was abandoned, where'd it go? Yeah. I have him pegged as mixed between organized and disorganized. John C. Let me just read this comment. John C. profiles say that the chances that he does this only once are 1 in 100. I feel the same, Kitty. I feel like he's either previously committed a crime or has done something since. There is a lady on YouTube that is a behavioral expert and talks about BG possibly being a... I missed your comment. Being a motorcycle rider that had possibly broke his ankle, and that's part of the limp you mentioned. You mentioned motorcycle ride. Yeah, interesting. You'll have to send me that link. I don't think he had a limp though. Like I said, I think I kind of went over the we went over kind of the limp thing. It's just kind of it's the way the video's been looped that it makes him look like he's got some kind of. Because everybody, when they first see the video, they think, "Oh, he's got a limp," or but it's just the way the video's been edited. That see if I got the video here. I know I do somewhere. Let's see if it's not in that one. It's probably in this one. No, that's the video. I think this is it. I have a video where I slowed it down. Okay, that's not the one. Oh man, I'm not sure where I put it, but anyway. Yeah, I think it's just the way that he's moving. But my theory, and it aligns kind of with some other YouTubers that I've been kind of collaborating with, like Marvelous Investigates, is I believe one of the reasons why we only got a 1 second clip and it's not a video of, because clearly there's at least 43 seconds and we know that she puts it in her pocket, so that doesn't make sense why they wouldn't at least show the footage until she puts the phone into her pocket, until he comes out of frame. But I think if the guy was on a motorcycle, he could have drove it down that trail to the bridge. I'll have to see if I can find her video. Drove it down that trail to the bridge. Yeah, that's possible. You'd think a motorcycle would make a lot of noise, but yeah, at the cemetery. I wonder if he parked his motorcycle at the cemetery. That I could see, yeah. Because there's a lot of force and a lot of, it would drown out that sound for sure. If we look at the overview, yeah, with all these woods, if his motorcycle was here, I think that would definitely drown out any sound. Because right now, they're just looking for the girls where they last thought they would be was by the bridge. So they'd just be here. They wouldn't really be on this side of the creek. So that would make sense, and they wouldn't really hear anything. And this is all just farm town over here, so it's not like this is something major. The Hoosier Heartland Highway is right here. This is where all your traffic would be. I don't think, this is like a popular area as far as like traffic-wise goes. Yeah, I could definitely see that for sure. Someone else showed the seconds just after. Someone else showed the seconds just after that video. He definitely has a limp, and Tony had a knee replacement. I don't know about the seconds after the video, but yeah, Tony had a knee replacement. Yeah, I've never heard anything about Tony having a knee replacement, but that's interesting. But my opinion, I don't think Tony or Kagan would have been able to. I don't know if you caught the first part where they were going through the water and just all the. Even Frank Meister said that even though he was he's been in the Army and stuff. He felt like crossing that river and doing all that stuff that they would have had gone through. This guy definitely was somewhat athletic. Yeah, which is interesting, modern crime and cars, because apparently this person of interest that I was just talking about, apparently from what they say in this, for Robert Lindsay, he says that this guy, like I said, I'm going to be looking into it. He says that the guy was there at the press conference. So I got to look more into that, which is crazy, if true. One more thing I just wanted to show you guys before it gets too late here. Just to finish my thought on this. My theory, and along with others, is the reason why this is just a 1 second clip, 48 frames, is I think that he's about to pull out a gun. And they didn't want to show that in the footage. And that's why we only get 1 second and 48 frames. I always kind of felt something just didn't make sense, because if you get any closer to the girls and we can see that, we might be able to tell something. And it just didn't make sense for them to just show that 1 second. It would make sense to, cut the audio out, but show it until he comes out of frame where she drops the camera down. But so this is the first frame. This is, I think, the last frame. And there's something that I noticed between the first frame and the last frame. So I'll show you guys. So you can see his hand looks like he, in my opinion, it's almost like in the pocket of what I think is a hoodie, a brown hoodie. It could also be that he's got a gun and it's kind of under the coat. So you can almost see the gun. In my opinion, you can almost see the gun right here under his coat. Like if someone were to, remember when people used to stick their finger through, and so it kind of looks like that to me. And so I noticed, okay, so notice, so here's the skin right here. Notice there is just kind of regular lighting right here on this brown. Notice in the last frame, there is a shadow right here. In my opinion, that looks like a shadow. So you got that, and no shadow. My opinion is he's starting to pull out the gun, and his hand has moved. And instead of being back, it's actually coming out. And I think that shadow is him actually starting to begin to draw the weapon out. That's just my opinion. But I think he's kind of got the gun tucked under his coat. Probably had it in the hoodie pocket. But now he's starting to pull it out. And I think that's why we can't see any more frames, is because anything after this, there would be a gun in it. And of course they wanted to keep that, certain details to themselves. But we know now through transcripts that the family was able to listen to some of the audio. And then Gray Hughes actually did an interview with Anna, and there was basically a transcript that he did of what their interview with her, and there was talk of that the girls could hear Libby saying and the girls were talking about where they should go. The next thing they hear him saying is down the hill, and then they heard the gun being cocked. So that's my theory as far as why they don't show any more of that video. But that's and then also the other reason why, and I know I said this time and time again, but the other reason why I think there's no more audio of the killer, or why will they not play any more audio of the killer, is that he's telling them that they're trespassing. And so I think if people hear the sound of a gun cocking and trespassing, they're going to think law enforcement. And so, so that's my theory on that. This is an interesting photo. No, there was no report of the girls being shot. Just, I said, I don't want to get into details, but not shot. Most likely a knife. This photo was taken at, I know it's really hard to see, but this photo was actually taken at 3:49 p.m. It's really hard to see the 3, but it's there. It's 3:49 p.m. February 13th. So as you can see, she's at this bridge. This is Cheyenne. Now this is looking southeast. This is, I think she's like maybe on platform A or platform 1 or 2. So, and she took this at 3:49. So this would have been taken right after the murders, just right after. Like BG still would have probably been in the vicinity. And this is kind of another theory why I think he probably went out the cemetery. Is she arrived at 2:50, which would have been almost towards the end of the murder, and BG's starting to finish up. She said she walked the trail, and she got to the end where the girls were, and then walked back, and at 3:49 took that picture looking southeast. But she said she never saw anything. And then she walked back. If he was leaving at 3:30, I think that at some point those two would have met up at some point. And like I said, I think it's a good possibility that he probably went out the cemetery. And that there's more witnesses that I could do this with. But that's just kind of my theory. And I'll be doing some more timeline stuff when it comes to the witnesses and stuff. But I 100% disagree that they have more. Let's see. I want to read your comment. I 100% disagree that they have more BG voice. I'm thinking she accidentally stopped the recording or someone called her. It's possible. I can't disagree. I think, well, there is a few more words that have been, I don't know. I guess you could kind of say been confirmed, but I think there's more recording. There's always been talk that there was minutes of recording, not just 43 seconds. But I'm going to be doing some experiments to check that out and see. Abby's pick has no fog in on it. Yeah, thank you, Sally. Yes, exactly. Here, let me play the clip and I'll explain why it looks so odd. But yeah. So like I said, when people first see this, oh my gosh, the whole limp thing, it's been brought up so many times. It's a combination of multiple things. One is he's actually changing his direction. The other is that the way they edit it and how it's played back, it almost makes him look like he's got a limp, but it's just the way it's been edited. So here's this video. You got to remember that they're only showing one step, one right foot step and one left foot step, and then they reverse it. And it makes it awkward because what happens is he right at the end, right on the 48th frame, his right leg actually starts to turn right. And it makes it look weird. And then, yes, of course, add in that he's trying to go over railroad ties. He doesn't have his normal pace you would when you're just walking on concrete or anything else. So that's going to make you kind of almost second guess yourself to make it look like. So I think it's just a combination of a lot of things, but this guy to have a limp and he's got to control two girls and now he's got to chase them and cross a creek and do all that stuff. In my opinion, I don't think it's possible. Yeah, said the audio goes all the way to the creek crossing. I don't know if they've ever fully confirmed that, but yeah, you're right on that. Does not contain the homicides. I agree with that part. Yeah, yeah, it's just a combination of things that it just, and him changing direction when he's about to take that other step with his right foot. So it just kind of makes him look weird. And plus, when you watch that press conference, I almost think like when he said, "Notice the mannerisms and the way he's walking." I don't think he should have said that because it almost made everybody look at the way he's walking and almost made people think, "Oh, well, he's got a limp. That's why he's mentioning the look at the way he's walking." I think they probably should have left that part out. Yeah, Luna, he is actually starting to turn towards him. And in my opinion, I think he's starting to pull a gun out as well. Yeah. How's that? We don't have to agree on everything. Oh, so Cheyenne Peak has fog, but just minutes prior took one limit, no fog film. Oh, is that what you're talking about with the fog? Interesting. Could that be a filter? Or is it just kind of the lighting? I don't know if that's fog. Might just kind of, I mean, don't. But I know this photo's real. I don't think it looks like fog. It might. I think it's just the lighting and stuff on it, just kind of bright. But interesting. And I believe when she went to the end, she said that she'd, if I recall, she said she had heard or seen the people under the bridge as well. So that's why I think that he didn't take the girls down that way that Greeno showed, which I still think is a great video, but it's still just, I don't know. I think they went further down. They know a lot more than we do. I would think they would bring in fresh investigators with all the data they have. When this case breaks, there's going to be a lot of us stunned by what is revealed. Oh, that I can totally agree with that, for sure. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Fog filter, maybe. Because, yeah, I don't know if that's a Snapchat photo or something. It could be a fog filter. But I know the photo's real. That's been confirmed. Yeah, James Chadwell, yeah, he is a good fit, White. Sadly, I don't think it's him. He's been kind of dismissed as a person of interest. And he's even said that he would go on a podcast and clear his name. But yeah. I live on a big river. When days are warm, nights are terribly cold, small ground. Appear late. Small ground clouds start to appear late in the afternoon when the sun goes down. Temperature, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Chadwell is a good fit, but I don't think it's him. But he is. He is a good fit for sure. Who was under the bridge? Apparently 2 teenagers, because it is a place where people went to go hang out. So. But like I said, I'm going to do some more research on this guy's person of interest because it is interesting if this guy did work at these meat packaging plants that were close by to both Evansdale and Delphi. That would be really very very odd coincidence. Yeah, I can't talk, but yeah, very strange. So I'm going to look into it. Just looking before I get off here. See, he's a great fit. Yeah, a little bit. Let's see, tail end was there. Yeah, yeah, I think the tattoo you're talking about, he had that before, way before the girls were murdered. I can't remember the date. If we're talking about Chadwell. Yeah, I don't think Chadwell is. Because Because he even admitted to what he did. He says, yeah, I admit to what I did here, but I am not the Delphi guy. So, let's see, did I touch on everything? Yeah. So like I said, just to kind of recap, we talked a little about the reenactment, which for those that miss, I'll just play this one part, just to for those that might have missed the reenactment. I gotta turn the volume down on it, but I'm just gonna show just the part where they're crossing the creek here. Just kind of give you an idea. You'd have to be really physical. That's why I have a hard time seeing Kagan and or Tony. Not only to be crossing the bridge, but then you've got to go down these two steep hills, and then you're going to be going across the creek, and still be able to control the two girls. Yeah, I mean, that's true, Way. That's true. But I don't think he's a good fit, but I don't think so. But, just to go back to Kagan and Tony, for their physical capabilities, I just don't think they'd be able to. We know Kagan was just inside, he just stayed inside. And with Tony, yeah, he did work, but he has diabetes. I mean, that's Tony. I think out of the two, Tony's the better fit for if it was one of the Kleins. But the only thing with Tony is that Tony has that high-pitched, almost girly voice, they say, because I did that as, the comparison with his voicemail or whatever. And even his stepson said, yeah, he's got too high-pitched voice to match with the guys under the bridge. But I will put these reenactment links when I get done with this video here. It is fascinating watch to kind of see the different ways and just kind of get an idea of what it had been like. But these banks, I mean, you can see all along these banks on this other side are really like 3 to 4 foot high kind of ridges that once you get to the shore on the other side that you have to deal with. Except for a few spots over kind of which is the direction they actually head in. But that's just one area. They could have been further down where some of these banks are higher up and clearly could have caught up to them. So, but I'll put those links if you guys want to check that out. But yeah, let me just look at your guys' thoughts real quick. I would look into anything that's been done near a Tyson meat packing plant. What time of day did this happen? Both were done during the daytime. So this Delphi started at 2:13. The footage actually starts. We learned that was one of the few things they released during the 5-year anniversary. Is we learned that this starts at 2:13. And then they said that it was over by 3:30. So, do Tony and Keegan have alibis? I'm sorry, I just started watching this a month ago. So their alibi is, and it's kind of not the best. So apparently, Tony works third shift, which is like the graveyard shift. And Keegan didn't work. Apparently, they were watching WrestleMania on Monday, but WrestleMania is usually on Sunday. So now they could have been watching a recording of it, because maybe since his dad had to work graveyard, he was probably sleeping and then went to work, so they didn't watch it, and so now they're watching it on Monday. So that's their alibi. I think if there's anything else to the alibi on that. But yeah, that's what he tells law enforcement, is that they were watching WrestleMania or pay-per-view. So, yeah, I think there's something else in there, but I can't think of it at the time being. Yeah, exactly. A pay-per-view WWE event, which they could have recorded or played the next day. I've done that, so it's not unheard of. But oh, sorry, Brandy. Yeah, I'm just about to get off here. I've kind of been going on for almost. Gosh, I've been on here for a little while now. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Tom. And there's a lot of 2/13. Yeah, I know. February 13th. I know. It is. That's why it's kind of did this video. There's some crazy coincidences in here, and then when you mix in Evansdale, it's really bizarre. So, but yeah, I think I'm gonna end it there. Let me just see if there's any more questions real quick that I can answer real quick. Evansdale abduction is theorized to have occurred about 1:30, 2 p.m. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yep. Yes, Underscar's DNA was given by Kagan. Yeah, they took a hair sample from him. Yep. Let's get extreme. Yep. Let me just see any more questions I can answer real quick. No, see, that's a misconception, Kitty. No, Kagan lied about that. They didn't go to Vegas until June, I believe. June or July. I think it's June. Yeah, they didn't go to Vegas until June. He said he was in Vegas for a crazy amount of time. He even put in his Facebook that he was learning to be a blackjack dealer on February 13th, 2017, which was crazy. And I even did a video about that, so if you want to check that out. It is crazy that he would, of all the days he picks that. It almost looked like he was trying to set up an alibi, but he wasn't in Vegas during the time. Yeah, I am, yep, I am gonna send that to them, Lady M. Thank you. Yeah, they went together. They did. They went together, Anna. I don't have the exact date, but it's in the transcripts, though. But yeah, Kagan told his brother that they were in Vegas the whole time or something, but it was Kagan's a habitual liar, so. Can you send a link about Garrett Kurtz? Garrett Kurtz. I'll have to look into that. Kurtz. So be kind, please run. Yeah. So I think we'll end it there because I usually try to keep mine under an hour and a half, but I think we went past that. There's just so much. Like I said, that is interesting with the Evansdale, and then this guy's person of interest being a guy that works and rides Harley motorcycles. It's a plausible theory. I've got to do more research into that for sure. So, but one thing I got to correct right now, because I made a mistake, and I apologize. I'm human. But there's one thing that I've been getting wrong for the longest time. So for some reason, I always thought this video starts when he's between platform 5 and 6. And I've been saying that forever. And I apologize. I'm human. But this actually starts when he's like pretty much at platform 6. So I apologize for those that have probably been screaming at me in the comments like, no, it's not between 5 and 6. It's at 6. Because you can see platform 5 right here. So I thought he was kind of like in between 5 and 6. But obviously you can't see what's right here. And it doesn't seem like he's that far away from platform 5. But that's just kind of, the perception and the deception of the view. But yeah, he's actually at platform 6 when he's starting to get filmed here. So I apologize for messing that up. I don't know. I always just thought he was between 5 and 6, but after doing tons and tons of research and looking at it, he's clearly at platform 6 when this video starts. So I apologize for messing that up, guys. But so anyway, yeah, please leave your DNA on the like button, and yeah, I think we'll end it here, guys. I'll have to do a halftime video here again soon for you guys. So, but I appreciate everyone tuning in, taking their time to watch me. Says you're human. I am human. I make mistakes. So, thank you, Tom, man, for the donations. Everybody else for the donations. And thank you, Aaron, for becoming a member. And like I said, I do, after this, I'll have a video. It's the After Dark special where I kind of talk about some of the stuff that I just don't feel comfortable talking on the public. So if you want to become a member, you get perks and extra videos that I do for members only. So, but we'll end it there. I hope you guys have a great night. This weekend, we'll be doing a 2-part thing for Brandon Lawson's story. I'm super excited. And more content to come. So I hope you guys have a great night. And I love you all. Stay safe.